been a while, and I've got another series of videos. I'm going to start with this one. This is a letter that I wrote. Initially, it was meant to go out to a friend who I had just had a beautiful conversation with a few days before, and a lot of what we spoke of comes into this message. I actually didn't end up sending it to him. However, because actually it got really long, but I would love to share it here, and I know that in our next conversation he and I will certainly pick this up because it's so big. Anyways, so here it is. Good afternoon, my dear. Thinking of you in a state of ever deeper self-reflection, which was born of great sadness last night and wholly centered around being lonely. I contemplated three things in particular: conscious solitude, humans as social beings, and isolation. Euthanasia is practiced in this country, Canada, and before one is given the life-draining needle, they fill out a questionnaire. It would not take you long to guess what the number one reason for choosing to leave the physical plane is: loneliness, and now the present global situation. I breathed, walked, and spoke with God this morning upon awakening. I had gone to bed absolutely crying and crying. I surrendered again and again to the feelings I was experiencing. I had just watched a film called 5 to 7 again, which only exacerbated what I was feeling. I had started the evening by wanting to draw the flower of life. I commenced and was watching a documentary about it again, but soon realized I needed to do one or the other, as both asked for my full attention. To draw was my choice, so I switched over to a podcast I'd set aside to listen to later. Aubrey Marcus, along with Professor Matthias Desmet of Ghent University in Belgium, who's a clinical statistician and he's a statistician and clinical psychologist, talking about the theory of mass formation, or mass psychology. This is a lonely path, and my willingness to submit to what is non-existent. Is non-existent. I think that's why I didn't finish watching the podcast, because though I highly resonated with all that was being said, it was really depressing. That's when I made the switch to the film. I already know so much of what the Master's book has revealed to me is just how hypnotized we actually are, myself included. Layers and layers of it, not unlike the film Inception. You snap out of one layer to awaken to another, and one must just keep going. Have the will to carry on. That was a clear message this morning as I walked. Contemplating all this stuff, I passed a house on my favorite long road, which has few houses and even fewer lights. For months since I'd started this route, I noticed cars pulling in at a certain time, the same time, though I knew not what that was, perhaps around 6:30 a.m. Always curious, this morning, seeing two cars just pull in, I decided to explore what, who, why. Perhaps they're doing yoga or meditation, whatever. I didn't really care, to be honest. I just knew that people were gathering, and that was enough. I went round the back, didn't see anyone, but decided not to pursue it, as on one of the doors there was the usual COVID signs, so it felt really fear-based and I walked away. I got to the front of the house though and thought, what are you afraid of? And with that went back, knocked on the door. Someone answered with wide eyes as to why I was there, it being so early and not scheduled to be there. And I said I was just curious as to what was going on. That I'd walked by numerous times before, as it was my usual walking route, and had just seen people gather. She said it's part of a community living project run by the city, and people live there and gather there. That was good enough for me. I said that my contemplations prior to then was about the need for human interaction, so I was very happy that they were gathering, and I left them to it, walked away, and when I got to the front of the house, thankful for the interaction. Though thankful for the interaction, I cried, having wanted more, wanting to be part of it. I thought of the film I'd finally got around to watching recently, Papillon. I thought about faith, just like Papy, as he did, from Devil's Island, taking a leap of faith to his freedom. I already have, and I'm floating on the water towards land again. Sometimes the water gets choppy, but I know what's ahead, and I allow the tide to just take me. I carried on walking, nearly back, and I say to myself, you get back and get straight on to editing, honey. I know you want to just lay down and sleep, but go to the masters. Resolved, I walk a little faster, nurturing myself, telling myself it's okay. All that I'm feeling is okay. Then the white truck. Had I kept my slow pace, that interaction wouldn't have happened. It's a pair of men pulling out of a subdivision the moment I happen to be in sight. Instead of making the right turn, the driver pulls back so I can pass, as he's done many times. And conversed we have many times also. Why I walk barefoot, where I'm from, that sort of thing. He asked me once if I would give him my number. And I said, I give you all my love. And kept going. I'm really happy that he wasn't embarrassed or ashamed to stop again. Still quite sad when I approached his already open window. I pulled myself together. How are you? Though I'd wanted to say really sad, I said I was well. I asked them a load of questions, what they were up to and all that kind of stuff. It was early Saturday morning. Work. They tape walls to prepare for painting. I suggested that they listen to Postmodern Jukebox, one of my go-to channels on YouTube, really, really loud whilst taping. Quite enthusiastic about it. I described it, then bid them farewell. I turned round and cried as I walked away. How do you do that? I asked myself. And why? And the answer came. In giving, one receives. That is the true work. Keep nurturing yourself, kiddo. Keep at it. This is the work. This is it. Now then, so that's all I wrote, and actually the video that's going to follow this one is about that very podcast that I was watching with Aubrey Marcus and Professor Matthias Desmet, because it's so fascinating. And in fact, I've gone into numerous other conversations with Dr. with Professor Desmet, as well as a range of other things. So it's really interesting, and I shall be sharing that shortly. But until then, and as always and always, so very much love, and God bless you. Bye for now.